listening to The Bradshaw Boys, a podcast where three relatively grown men binge the iconic HBO series Sex and the City. So dust off those DVDs and grab yourself a white wine or even a Cosmopolitan and settle in. Take it away, boys.
Welcome to the Bradshaw Boys, a podcast where three guys watch their way through Sex and the City for the first time ever, mostly. I'm Corey Cavan.
I'm Kevin James Doyle.
My name is John Sieber.
And today we have a very special guest. She is a lifestyle influencer and digital content creator. Please welcome Jara Foster Fell.
Hello. Thank you guys for having me. I'm so
Thanks for being
excited.
here.
So much for being here.
It's going to be so fun.
Yeah.
You know, the thing you just asked us, which sometimes I forget, our guests don't know, is that we are going on this journey as we speak. We have not seen today's episode. I've been fiending for this season because we haven't. I mean, last week we didn't record. We didn't watch an episode. We did a bonus episode. So last week we didn't get to watch an episode. So
So now you're like real
That's
thirsty.
tough.
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
we're Jonesing.
especially because I'm scrolling through HBO app all the time now, watching a bunch of different shows, and I see Sex in the City, and
It
it's
always
just
is
like
staring at you. It's
tempting.
always
Click.
looking at you, isn't it?
yeah, it's like
Don't do it.
No one
Honest
needs to
question,
know.
Have either of you gone back and watched episodes that we've already seen, just as some comfort food?
No. Have you?
I have.
Really?
Yeah.
That's really funny. I have
So
not
I
done
found
that.
myself hanging with the ladies occasionally.
That's pretty great.
What episode and for what reason?
It was just like Katie, my wife, sometimes has it on, and I'll sit and just enjoy it.
There
with her.
is something very comforting about rewatching Sex and the City. It's like coming back to your friends that you haven't seen in a while.
Yeah.
Tell us about your experience with Sex and the City.
Oh my goodness. I am so excited because I feel like I grew up with Sex and the City. So I'm from New York originally, born and raised, grew up in Manhattan. And I want to say I started watching Sex and the City when I was in 6th grade, which is probably around when it started.
Yeah.
Okay.
And my vivid memory is being over at my friend Sarah's house in 6th grade and watching it maybe on HBO. I have some sort of VHS memory of it as well.
Okay.
And staying up late, and it kind of felt like this secret thing that we weren't really allowed to do because I'm sure my mom would not have been thrilled that a 6th grader, 12 years old, was watching Sex and the City.
Yeah.
But that's my sort of childhood memory of it. And it's a very fond memory in my heart.
I don't know if this exists, but when you said I grew up in Manhattan, I'm like, that's a fact brag. It's completely factual, but it's like,
Totally.
that's so awesome.
I
It's
love
like,
saying that. People are always like, what? You did?
so
I'm like, we're
rare.
a rare breed. I'm like, yes, brushing off my shoulders.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Have you ever tried living in a different city?
Yeah, I've lived several places. I lived in France for a year when I was 16 in a town called Rennes. I moved out to Los Angeles for college.
Okay.
So I went to USC. So I was out in LA for about 5 years total. And then I lived in Boston for about 3 years.
Oh, so you've like been around.
I've been around.
those are good places to spend some time.
Yeah,
too.
because usually
Yeah.
when people leave, like who grew up in New York City, and when they leave, they're like, every other city is so boring and slow.
I mean,
did you
okay,
find
so
that at all?
I sort of had culture shock moving to LA because I get to LA and I'm from New York and I'm like, let's plan things. Let's go to the beach. Let's like make a list for the party of things that we need. And everyone's like, slow down, man. Like take a chill pill. And I'm like, this is crazy. So it was definitely a bit of adjustment to get my feet wet and sort of build a foundation there. But eventually I became a little bit more on the slow side. Like,
Yeah, that seems like that's a stereotype that's actually true. That
Yes.
people are like East Coast mentality is much more like driving ahead and just being like,
100%.
let's just do this and this. And there is like a super laid back thing of West Coast and LA that's very true.
I think that's
that
very
has
true.
its advantages too, but it's very true.
Yeah.
I know, but I like
I'm
that
like, I'm like,
you're
sure.
yeah, I can
No, I
see
have a
that.
soft spot in my heart for LA. Anytime I go back, I always have this twinge of, I kind of wish I was bi-coastal just because I get out there and I do feel this weight sort of lift off my shoulders a little bit. So I do love LA.
Yeah.
I think it's being a product of your environment as much as it's like anytime I feel like I leave, or I feel like a lot of people are like this. You're like, okay, I like this. And then you get back and you're like, I'm going to be more relaxed when I get back to New York. And then you get back, you're like, all right, fucking get up.
Totally.
That's exactly the words and sounds that come out of my mouth when I come back
So
to New York.
we haven't talked to many people who lived through the Sex and the City Renaissance. but
Okay.
For like in New York City.
Okay.
Everyone was alive during the time. But as someone who was in New York pre-Sex and the City and now post-Sex and the City and kind of lived through it, what are like the main things that you think the ways that show changed the city?
Oh, goodness. It's hard. I feel like that's a little bit of a challenging question for me because I was so young at the time in middle school.
Yeah.
But goodness, I think I haven't seen Sex and the City in a while. So I'm excited to watch an episode with you guys today. But I think that anytime I see it, it sort of feels like how New York was back in the day, like pre-dating apps and pre-Instagram. So it's sort of a walk into memory lane. And I think even though, of course, it's a show and things are exaggerated and there's drama that happens in it, it is a good representation of what New York was back in that time.
Yeah.
And it's like, it seems like as much as it's changed, it's like whatever people's vision of what New York is now will change.
Totally.
It's just like a changing city. So it's like, oh yeah, Meatpacking District is totally different back then.
Right.
But whatever show happens now will show some neighborhood and we'll be like, yep, not like that anymore.
Definitely not like that.
Yeah.
Where in the city did you grow up?
I grew up all around. So when I was born, I think I was down on Varick Street and then Charles Street for a little bit, then 67th Street on the east side, 81st, another apartment on the 81st, back to 67th. Then when I moved back after Boston, I was on 42nd in Midtown. Not great.
Oh, wow.
That's another story. And then I moved to Brooklyn for a brief stint, 6 months. Not a huge fan. I chose a not great neighborhood. And then now I'm in the East Village, which I just absolutely love. That's where my heart is for sure.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
That's great.
All over.
Yeah, you like in living outside of New York and inside New York are very well rounded in terms of living in different places.
My fair share of places.
Where's been your favorite place? In New York and out of New York?
I would say in New York, 100% where I am now in the East Village.
Yeah.
I think I like to be in the thick of things.
Yeah.
People always say, oh, I like Manhattan, but I want to move to Brooklyn or wherever where it's quiet. And for me, I moved to Brooklyn where it was quiet. I moved to Flatbush and I was like, yo, I got to be in the noise. I need like people and crowds and coffee shops, which is where I have now in the East Village. So I'm thriving there. And then in terms of outside of New York, when I was in LA, I was in Hermosa Beach for a little bit. And I think a brief taste of that was quite refreshing just to live by the beach. But you can kind of have your fair share of it and be like, okay, now I need to sort of not be in a beach town anymore. So that was just sort of a different change of pace. I think that was good and what I needed at the time.
That's cool.
Yeah, I have the classic question, which is when you watch the show, who are you? Which one are you? Or if it's an amalgam of who, like what characteristics of the four girls do you relate to most?
Goodness, I automatically want to say Carrie, but I'm not sure. I feel like I'm mostly Carrie. That's my gut response.
Okay. Do you know why, or is it just the gut? You do have a Jira Carrie necklace.
I have a Carrie moment that happened to me, which doesn't necessarily make me Carrie, but it was so specific that when it happened that it really has stuck with me. So I had a nameplate necklace, not this one.
I was in a relationship with Chris Knopf for many years.
I actually have run into Mr. Big a few times in the city, which has been also a wonderful moment.
We'll
I was
have to talk about that.
Yeah, I ran into him in Central Park. We were both running. We just like ran by each other, and he was in my friend's building once, so that was pretty cool.
That's wild.
But my nameplate necklace, my mom got me a really nice one for my high school graduation, and I loved it. It was my prized possession. It was like double plated, had like some cool diamonds in it. And I went to college, and one day I wore it out, as I always did, and I woke up the next morning after a party, and it was gone.
Oh, no.
And so I don't know if you guys have gotten to this part yet. I don't think you have in the series, but Carrie at one point loses her nameplate necklace and finds it in her clutch this later.
I don't think we have seen that.
Yeah, I think that might be coming up. Spoiler alert. Not that that spoils anything.
Can't believe you just told us that.
I know. But then, so I lost my nameplate necklace, was devastated, and ended up finding it at the house party that the party happened at. And sort of like, I was like, this is my Carrie moment where
That's
I
so
rediscover my nameplate necklace. So that doesn't necessarily make me Carrie, but I connect to her with that specific.
That's
journey
pretty
moment.
close. That seems like that's pretty close to a storyline. Yeah.
That's a better Carrie moment to have than you sleeping with an ex-boyfriend who's married.
Ooh,
and then
that
having
I
the
can't
woman
relate
find
to.
out and fall down the stairs and bust her teeth open.
Yeah, not
so like
great.
losing your nameplate necklace is a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit
better than
lighter.
So on our Instagram, I scroll through pictures and I take pictures during the episode, then I post them. And I've been passing a bunch of Bridget Moynihan ones from that scene. And I went to bed the other night and I had a dream that I knocked out my front 4 teeth.
Oh my
And it was
gosh.
from trying to choose a Bridget Moynihan picture.
And that's kind of like losing your teeth dreams are very common.
That's my most common
Really?
dream.
Yeah. Is
it
Either
really?
that they're falling out or that they're loose and about to fall out.
Yeah.
Very terrifying.
I've had loose
You
teeth
feel
dreams.
out of control.
Yeah,
does.
Well, yeah.
Or I don't know. We'll get on a
I just love
I
that you
think that's
felt
what it
out
means.
of control about those pictures, and it was what happened.
It was.
That's
It was
so
like-
perfect.
Is it this? Since that has to do with Instagram, what's it like? Any person that has like tons of followers, like, is it stressful? Is it something that you enjoy? You obviously interact with your followers a lot.
Yes,
and it's a
that's
job
huge
that
for
didn't
me.
exist 10 years ago.
It didn't even exist when I started my Instagram account
Yeah.
4 years ago. So
Yeah.
it's pretty amazing to see the evolution and be part of the evolution.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it stressful? No, because it's my job and I'm used to it. And I genuinely enjoy connecting with my community and talking to them. And my whole platform is about empowering women to feel confident and to just learn to laugh at yourself and just sort of share my life and all the ups and downs. So I do really enjoy that. I would say that having an audience opens me up to criticism and people saying mean things. And fun fact, actually today, I thought it was quite interesting timing. I got someone commenting on a podcast that I had been on before, because I've been on, 12 or so. And they're like, Jara's episode's the most cringeworthy episode. And I was like, wow, how interesting to get that comment about a podcast right before I come and record a podcast.
Yeah.
So it's just interesting, these moments that happen, and it opens you up to this vulnerability. So I would say that would be the most challenging part.
Yeah.
But for the most part, it's a pretty awesome job, and I feel really grateful
That's
to have
so
it.
cool.
Listen, if you left that comment,
Yeah.
you hold your tongue.
Yeah.
Because she is our guest right
listen
now.
up.
Yeah.
You listen up.
Yeah, don't
Commenter.
comment.
You're welcome to
Me.
listen to this podcast, but you got to be nice.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
I had to look for a clip of stand up that I have on YouTube to submit for this thing.
Okay.
And I was like,
no.
oh my gosh, I have one comment. I didn't know there was a comment. And it just says, woof.
No. But that's the thing. We all get it. I was talking to my friend who has a product and it's available on Amazon after I got that comment today. And she's like, you should read through the Amazon comments. I've cried because of them because people are just so ruthless. So
Yeah.
we all get it.
That's like a lot of celebrities say that they like don't Google them. It's like the hardest thing to do, but they
Yeah.
try not to Google themselves. They don't read reviews about stuff and stuff like that.
so
Totally.
hard.
Yeah.
Everyone's so mean.
Yeah.
Let's talk more about it when we get back and after we watch the episode Defining Moments.
Ooh.
Sexy artists. There's jazz. Ooh, there's some jazz.
Cool.
All right. We're going to go watch season 4, episode 3.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Episode 51 Defining Moments. Carrie meets a jazz musician while on a pseudo date with Big. Miranda tries to get more comfortable using the bathroom in front of her date. Charlotte is dismayed that Trey only wants to have sex in places where they can get caught. Samantha meets Maria, a lesbian painter at Charlotte's gallery, and questions her own sexuality. And now, back to the boys.
And we are back.
We're
everybody.
back.
We just watched the episode
Man.
7 days ago.
Just watched it.
Who wants to break the news to everyone?
I can break we can break it collectively. We had a little snafu.
We're re-recording. It's our first mess up ever on this podcast.
Yeah.
And I'm really upset because I personally said some amazing.
You really did.
No, I'm just kidding.
No, you did.
We had some good snap.
We had some
We-
good, snappy, witty comments, but it's okay. Second time around, I think it's going to be better.
Yeah,
I mean-
I think it definitely will
Yeah.
be. I think we'll eclipse what we had.
Yeah.
but we
What was
were
the
we
one
were
joke- What was
30.
the one reference you had?
Well, remember, I forget what you were talking about in the intro before we watched the episode, but it's
It was
something
your
with
YouTube
woof,
video.
a comment.
It was a
with woof.
comment. Woof. Yeah.
Oh,
And I
But you know
circled
what?
back with the
Actually,
woof.
it's not woof. It's yikes.
I know. I looked.
Yikes.
I know.
You had it.
Oh,
so
you
tell the
looked it
story
up.
again.
Oh
Wait,
my
weird. How do we? Well,
Well,
first
they
of
heard
all,
it in
yeah,
the
we.
first part already.
Wait, was that in the? That was in the
in our
first
intro.
part.
We're going to be
We didn't-
very discombobulated.
Yeah,
I
so we
know.
recorded this originally a week ago, and we got 40 minutes in, and then we realized that the recorder had shut off. I might not have hit the button. I thought I did hit the button. It's gone.
It's
Hey,
fine.
life
The good news
happens.
is like it would be. We've had some guests that you're like you don't vibe with as much. Like if it was like James Andrew Miller, I feel like I would be so nervous to be like, can you come back next week?
You got the best
Yeah.
person.
We
for it
felt
being
so
okay.
bad, and you were like,
You
it's
have-
totally
Yeah, we'll come
fine.
back.
You've been so cool about the
Aw,
entire
thanks,
thing.
guys.
Yeah.
You know, life happens, mistakes, snafus.
Yeah.
Part of the process.
Yeah, most people would be like, but you were very nice about
The
it.
good thing is, you know, we get to hang out again.
Yeah,
so
here we
fun.
are.
John, let's see. You did a great job remembering. So
A lot. This was last week. So
Yes.
here's what we watched 7 days ago. We did go through the video, and like Corey scrubbed his cursor at the bottom, and we like saw snapshots of the
Yeah,
scenes.
so we've had a little refresher.
But defining moments was essentially about defining relationships, and Carrie wanted to know what defines a relationship. And the stories were, you have Trey and Charlotte, who are kind of trying to figure out what they're like post-separation. Trey is like all of a sudden really into her, really into sex. He's loving the way that ass looks in that dress. And so Charlotte is getting frustrated that all he wants now is sex, specifically in public places and like places that are not the traditional places like the bedroom and whatnot. Miranda starts dating Doug, the cartoonist, played by
Jim Gaffigan.
Gaffigan's in this episode, and he is a little bit too comfortable with Miranda. He is relieving himself in the bathroom with the door open in several different scenes, and that's making Miranda feel a little bit free at first, where she tries to meet him halfway and then realizes there's a little bit too much definition for her. Samantha starts dating an artist named Maria, was it?
Maria, yeah.
She starts dating Maria, a female, and she's kind of figuring that out. And Carrie is trying to define her new friendship with Big, the world's worst wingman. And that's kind of where the show starts. It's Carrie and Big at the Monkey Bar listening to some jazz music.
Ooh, some skibidi-bop-boot-up-doop jazz.
And she meets one of the jazz musicians, and
The next Thelonious Monk,
yes,
the king. Who's it played by again? I knew it was
Craig Bierko.
Craig. Yeah,
Craig Bierko
Who
plays the
he's like
character.
been on tons of stuff, but he's a real jazzy guy.
Yeah,
He's a cool cat.
He's one of the coolest cats. I mean, he can groove. He can groove.
Big even says groovy at
Yeah,
some point,
yeah,
right?
it does.
I will say there is, anytime I've seen someone with the stand-up bass around New York City, I'm just like, you have got to respect that, because that dude, that's like the hardest instrument to carry
it's not
around.
like he's walking around with a
Not
flute
to play,
case.
to
Yeah.
carry around.
Yeah.
I don't know the skill level of operating it, but to get it from place to place.
My question is, how do they train you to play the stand-up bass? Do you start with the violin? Because like you can't just put a 6-year-old with the stand-up bass; it'd fall on him and squish
Excellent
him.
question.
I feel
that's
like
true.
there's beginner. I mean, I feel like people start. I feel like the middle range one is like viola because it's a little bigger. I think
Yeah.
violas are even a little easier to play than violin.
Do you think like there's any 6-year-olds that are like, I want to play bass, and they're like, you have to start with the viola, and they're like, I want to play bass.
It's like a roller coaster. You have
Yeah.
a height requirement.
Yeah, exactly.
Play it.
Yeah,
I
you
don't know
have
if
to be
that's true.
you have to be this tall and this groovy to play the stand-up bass, and wear this
You
fedora.
have to own this many fedoras
Exactly.
in order to play stand-up bass.
Yeah,
Or a kangaroo hat. I feel like that's someone who plays the
And at
stand-up bass.
they have a music amusement park, and they get up there like, you did reach the height limit. That's good, but you're not groovy enough.
Sorry.
Can't ride the roller coaster.
Your groove level.
Apologies.
your
But
groove level's not
I
good
feel
enough.
like and this is a wild generalization, but most bass players have my build. They're like bigger.
Yeah,
They
tall.
maybe like be a little bit relaxed in their diet from time to time.
I mean,
They're
it's
like taller.
it's a big freaking instrument.
Yeah,
When you see like a real one, you're like, that is, you cannot be like, listen, if you're Tiny Tim, get a cello. Okay.
Although-
we can't have you here.
although when you say bass players, do you mean like bass players or stand-up
Stand-up
bass
bass.
I'm
players?
gonna just
That's
go
what he
say
was
both.
playing.
I'm gonna just say both.
Because I think there's a couple stand-up bass players that are like lanky jazz cats that look like Shaggy from Scooby-Doo.
Okay.
I could see a few of those dudes. They got like a little bit of chin fuzz, but I feel like a lot of bass players are
They looked like the male version of Daria's best friend.
who's
Remember with like the glasses and like the real
Daria, like the
crop top?
cartoon?
Yeah.
I don't
I tell you, if I pulled up a picture, you'd be like, that looks like a bass
I think
player.
you're on your own mountain here, buddy.
Happy to be on it.
Who's
like
the
Jazz
guy?
Mountain.
Randy Jackson. That's from
Yeah,
from
dog.
Yeah, dog. He's a bass player.
Is he?
He played bass for Journey.
Oh,
Yeah.
dog. I didn't know that,
yeah.
dog.
Yeah, I mean, he's got that build. I feel like.
He played for Journey.
Yeah, he played for Journey. I'm gonna. That's true, right?
More
Yeah.
you
So
know.
okay, so she dates this guy. What's she attract? Like, we kind of already know like what happens because they just have a two date thing, but she's hanging out with Big.
Who
Carrie.
was
Carrie's hanging out with Big.
yeah,
and
but
then
who
she
was like
sees-
a whole different side of Big in this episode than we've seen
He's
before.
essentially a child.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Usually he's composed. He's like, he holds himself professionally. He was doing like all sorts of eyebrow raises. He
Yeah.
was making fun of her.
Yeah. Oh, the
He
phone
was-
call that he did with her was so good when he just makes fun of, because I feel like that's kind of, as the audience members, we were thinking like, you got to poke fun at this jazz guy a little bit.
Oh,
and I
he-
feel like Noth just like bit whole hog into
Full
a
throttle.
different side of Big that is not the billionaire, like cool. He's not a cool cat.
Jared, have you ever had like a boyfriend like that where they were professional Big one day and then like something set them off and they were like child Big the next?
Yeah, but I want to say in a more positive light because I'm such a goofy, silly person that I find, whether it's in my relationships, like with a boyfriend or relationship with a girlfriend or my mom, even, I'm really good at pulling the goofy side out
Yeah.
of people. So yeah, I think that I've had like a romantic relationship in the past where they're a little bit more serious on the outside, and then sort of behind closed doors, or as we get to know each other more, we get the goofy side out, but not sort of like the childish side that we see with Big, which is a little extreme in this
Yeah.
episode.
He was really
even though it's
giving her
funny.
business. Yeah.
He Jekyll and Hyde's really hard in this one. But he really, the phone call's one of the best because I forget exactly what he's saying, but it's like, ba-da-ba, jazz man.
Yeah.
Like-
yeah. And he kept on calling him pork pie.
That's
He's
what
a pork pie hat.
Pork pie. Hey, pork pie.
I mean, what's funny is like they're trying to present that they have this like friendship, and even at the chat, and she's like, "What? We were friends. We're like," but it's like, if you're truly friends with someone, you're not going to be jealous because they like someone else. So it's like, I'm stating the obvious, but clearly they're not friends. Just because you're
Clearly.
not fucking does not mean that you're
Well,
friends.
I mean, that's a good question. Well, where's everyone's thoughts on that? Can you be friends with an ex?
Have you seen When Harry Met Sally? No,
No, I haven't.
you can't.
All I know is
I
peppers
think
for my
you
Papa Cots.
can.
Is that?
I think it's quite challenging. I think people are in the minority who are able to do that.
Yeah.
But I think it's possible.
Well, first of all, how X are we talking? Are we talking like serious relationship X or like few dates X?
Well,
or
I
like
get-
3 months X?
I think the more months you got, the
It's more
more
challenging.
challenging it's going to get.
Yeah.
Because I mean, you hear of people who were married and then they divorced and they're like, marriage wasn't right for us, but we're still friends. We're still going to raise our kids together. So,
And I think the kids thing puts a thing in there where it's like we've got to do this somehow. Like we if we want to positively raise a kid, then I feel like that's another check where you got to put a couple things on the back burner. I think there's some people that are like, I don't really talk to my ex-husband or wife anymore. There's no kids. I wish them well, but when you have a kid in there, you have to interact.
Or a dog.
or a dog. That's
dog.
true.
Yeah.
I feel like we're kind of trending though towards, and this is maybe a ridiculous statement, like more of a woke society where people like may realize like we weren't necessarily compatible as a relationship, but we can still totally be friends.
I mean, two of my closest girlfriends are not just friendly, but very much friends with their exes. So I just have that top of mind.
Yeah,
like, wow, that really is possible. And they had some pretty intense, sort of long relationships, and they were able to make that happen.
Yeah.
I think like the key is like it's all like one by one. Like there's no like rule. So I think sometimes when people hear like, oh, you can be friends with the next, they apply it in general, but it's always
Case by case.
It's always case by case because, like even with two people that are, and also it depends on what people mean by friends, because it's like, I don't know, after
friends
Like
with
go
the
out
eyebrow raise.
and like see a jazz show together.
but if this episode came out and someone was just like, oh, Jira, I'd be like, well, yeah, we're friends, but it's like, that's different from the time that Corey and I spend together.
Sure.
Because
And so-
Kevin and I's breakup was very tough.
Oh,
It was very
goodness. I'm glad you guys can be friends.
You guys have gone on overnight friendship retreats together.
Oh yeah, it's true.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Nashville?
I did this.
Same bed.
Same bed.
Same bed.
I just have to.
Pillow talk.
Did someone ask on Instagram or social, like, which one of between the two of you has the best laugh?
Yes.
Oh yeah,
and I know what the answer is. It's you.
it is. It
It's
is.
100% you. It's
It
100%.
is me.
And
And
you is Kevin.
and-
That's Corey speaking, saying Kevin has the more distinct laugh.
And
see-
Distinct or better?
Well, that person.
I think the
said
person on
better.
Instagram said
I think
better.
what
but
They
meant
said
was-
Corey would
better.
Just say louder.
Yeah, what they meant was.
Listen, if we're gonna get
super
into
obnoxious.
if we're gonna get into quality, then that's,
Different conversation.
Yeah, you know what? Listen, all wines are good. It depends on your taste. Some people like natural
Some
wines.
people like $2 Chuck from
yeah,
Trader
exactly. And you know
Joe's.
what? There's nothing wrong with that person. They have
This is
they have really bad taste buds. But
full body,
that is
fruit forward.
Have you always had that laugh, or did you develop it? And the reason I ask is because in high school, I was like, it would be really funny if I had an Eddie Murphy laugh. So I just started laughing like, and then it became real. I
Do
actually
you still laugh like that?
no, but there was like a good 6 months where if you made me laugh, it was.
I kind of I used to work at I used to intern at UCB at Upright Citizens Brigade, and I would watch shows every Friday night, and I would notice comedians there, people that were like in the comedy community doing shows there, have a certain laugh where they want you to know that they're laughing at something. So they'll be like, there would be people that were like in the comedy community that go watch stuff and they'd be like, and it would be like, oh, and they were laughing because it was like, I respect that move that person did.
That's like,
But then you
that's-
couldn't
yeah.
really get them to, like, I wondered, I was like, what's their real laugh? Because you would just be like, certain comedy people would have the most obnoxious laughs. But I think it's because they were trying to be noticed.
Did you know what I heard when I heard those laughs?
What's that?
Jazz, baby. Cool jazz, daddy.
Just like
Some
Pork pie.
porky pie.
just a different type of.
I hear jazz all over the place.
You know, yeah, even with dumpster trucks,
Garbage trucks?
in
Yeah.
New York City. I mean, it's everywhere. It's in our blood.
I want to talk about Miranda and Doug, the cartoonist.
Let's get into it.
yeah, I
let's-
would like to talk about this.
Let's talk about Open Door.
Speaking of the comedy
bathroom
community,
Yes.
Jim Gaffigan,
let's talk about Jim Gaffigan.
one of the greats.
So do you know how your like parents have like certain things that they just always say
Sure.
and like
I thought you
don't-
were gonna say, do you know how your parents like have certain things? Mine always crapped with the doors open.
this is what it's about.
Whoa.
One of the things that I just like, I feel like my parents don't remember. Like every time they think it, they said it for the first time, but I remember them saying all the time. They would just be like, when you're in a relationship, it's important to keep some of the mystery there, and I don't think it's good to leave the door open because people don't realize. But when you get that comfortable, it can make you less sexually attractive to your partner. And they
Well,
would say
that's
that
an
about the
interesting
bathroom and
point.
shitting in front of them all the time.
That's an interesting point because something that I was thinking of to piggyback off of that is there's this sort of pivotal moment that I think happens in a relationship, and maybe it doesn't happen for some people, but the first time that one person farts in
Yeah,
front of the other
totally.
person.
Yeah.
Which is in season one of
that's-
Sex and the City.
Oh, is it?
episode.
Okay, I haven't
There's
seen it in
no
so
scary,
long.
But yeah, but go on.
But no, I think it's so crucial because it either happens or it doesn't. And so for some people, it happens right away. And for some people, it's like years. And then for some people, they just refuse to ever let it happen.
Yeah.
So I always like to ask people that in their relationships, like if it's happened or not and when.
Yeah.
I would.
I have a great answer to that.
Oh,
that I think I've
please.
already
I
said.
would love to hear it.
yeah. Tell your story, John.
Yeah, my wife farted in front of me first.
Wow.
And
Props.
I decided that I just wasn't going to fart in front of her. I'm a flatulent person.
You're going
as
to
you
keep the
can tell.
mystery.
So I waited until our wedding night, and right after we got married, I was like, "Love you. You're my wife, and I got one thing for you, one more thing for you, and just let one rip."
And how did she react?
She loved it. She thought it was really funny.
Hell
Now,
yeah.
not so much. Now she's like, you have to say, "Excuse you." And I'm like, I'm in a different room. And she's like, we live in a 1-bedroom apartment. You're looking at me. I'm like, sorry.
But that's funny. That works because, like, I bet you would never say "excuse me" before.
Yeah.
But now you're like, does it set like a Pavlovian thing in your mind where you're like, oh, sorry, excuse me?
her thing is like, she doesn't really care. She's like, when we have kids, I'm going to want them, like, I want them to have manners. So, like, let's start now. Like,
Yeah.
and I'm like,
I respect that.
all right, I can respect that.
I get
So,
that.
I think it's like it's not a huge deal. I remember I don't like farting in front of other people because my farts are when they come out like there's
Best
usually-
laugh and best farts.
yeah it's
Yeah.
not it's not one that people are like, ooh, what was that? It's usually It's usually a situation.
Clear the room.
But yeah, I think the farting thing is interesting because it's like something that always happens. And that's why there's something beautiful about it. It's like, oh, we're ourselves. Whereas this door thing is slightly different.
This is another level.
The door thing is like
another level.
because I'm taking a shit with the door open.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a whole
I
other
would,
deal.
not about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bathroom stuff for me is like it's private. It's my time. I don't care if I'm married to you, if you're like my best friend, whatever. It's like I'm gonna shut the door and do my stuff.
Wait, what about your relationship?
Okay,
with the fluff.
Okay, so I'm in a new relationship, so that hasn't happened yet. But there's one relationship in my past that I can remember. We finally got to the point where we could sort of talk about it, and it got to the point where I was like, "Why haven't you farted in front of me?" Because we're at that point where it should have happened.
I want to meet your parents and I want you to fart in
Was
front
it a
of me.
red flag?
No, it wasn't a red flag, but I think that I wanted to at some point, but I felt like he had to do it first. I don't know why.
Oh, that's
I felt
so
like
funny.
It.
God,
And
what if you counted down and did it at the same time?
oh, that would take some coordination.
It really would.
I would have been impressed.
One
if
person
we
would
did that.
have to be like holding it in.
But one day, I want to say it was a couple years. It was not on a wedding night.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
never happened. But he finally did it, and it just felt like victory.
That's-
Like, yes!
I remember
Did you like? Was it a call and response? Were you like immediately afterwards? You like let one go and you're like, my turn.
I forget what happened after. I just remember that specific moment. It felt pretty victorious after asking him to do it for quite a while.
So funny. Was his like accidental? Or
No, I
was-
think he did it on purpose.
Okay.
Finally, I think I just begged him
Yeah.
for so long. I don't know why I was so infatuated with.
That is like one of those things where like when you're in a new relationship, you're just like, I want this so bad. It'll make us feel so much closer. And then once you're married for a couple years, it's like, really? Like it's like I don't know anything else like that.
There's so many memes around this
Yeah.
as well. Like I'm gonna totally butcher it, but something like you're with the person that you're seeing for 24 hours, and then 1 second later you leave and you automatically release all.
When I was in high
yeah.
school, I remember just like getting in my car and it sounded like the bombing of Pearl Harbor. Just like it was just louder than bombs every time after I hung out with my girlfriend in high school. It was
I
just
get it.
and it was like, and there's always that thing when you hang out with someone where you're like, oh, my stomach's growling. I guess I'm hungry. It's like, no, you have to fart so bad.
You had a bunch of shellfish.
Yes. And
you
it's just
have
like,
to fart.
oh man, I guess I'm still hungry. And it's like we ate for 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
I farted in front of one of my students, and like the parents were like around, and I like just did it, and I was like, and then they're like, it smells, and I was like, what? Like,
You should have just blamed it on the kid.
yeah.
That's so funny.
Oh goodness.
But yeah, he leaves the door open. It's funny because I feel like it's a perfect example of what my parents said was wrong.
Yeah.
You know, like it starts out with peeing, and by the end,
You
they're
know what I
pooping.
appreciate
And
though is
Gaffigan is
Miranda
just-
like tries to meet him there. Miranda's usually good for like trying to meet. Like
Yeah.
I'm thinking about the guy that liked like she found the spanking video too.
Oh yeah.
yeah.
She's
Ooh, I
like-
forgot about that.
Yeah, she's like not gonna just like
No,
judge you. She's gonna
she'll
try to
open up.
participate with whatever the guy's into.
Yeah.
but this one was just a little too
It
far
went
for
too
her.
far.
Yeah. And I will say credit to the Sex and the City directors and editors. They went all in on the
Sound effects.
The sound effects. I mean, you would think
Should
it
I
would just be a
recreate
little
it?
bit like, yeah, please do.
Oh, I've always been so good at
That
that.
was really
And fun
good.
fact, I can fart
Oh, you
with
can
my
do it with your
armpits.
armpit?
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
great.
You have to be wet. Mine always had to be
No,
like,
no.
wet.
Let's try it.
Hold
Let's
on.
see.
Oh yeah, not bad.
Yeah, that was a good one.
My mom's gonna be
Bad.
so thrilled
are
when I tell her about what I did.
So amazing we have Gaffigan on the podcast farting for us live.
Yeah.
Well, have you done that in your new relationship yet? Either one of those?
No, but I did it recently within the last month on Instagram on stories. It got a great response.
Oh, I
I was
bet.
thinking of doing an actual video post with
That's
it.
so
but I
great.
forgot about it to
That's
this moment.
that's one of those things that's like a holy grail of talents in middle school, and then you
Yes.
kind of forget about it when you become an adult.
Yeah,
and it's really fun.
totally forgot
it's really
about it.
fun.
This is always the best one. The one you
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean,
the-
feel
the-
free
the
if
two-
you want to. Maybe we all should do
Two
it.
hands up.
It's different with the mustache.
was-
I
Oh
can't.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
See, yours
Yours has so much.
Yours has both hands going.
Oh man. on.
It's so good.
Wow. Maybe this is my future.
Oh my gosh, you need to leave the
you do
door
it, John?
open.
No, I can't.
Try
I have
it.
no idea even how to.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you
I
remember
have to use like my arm? Like,
Oh, do that.
Oh, that's pretty good. That has a different like quality to
Yeah.
it.
Anyway.
Do you remember?
Anyway.
You remember?
Oh yeah, the loon call.
Ooh.
I remember it being similar to this. Someone always trying to do it,
And it would never
really-
work.
And then you have the 1-8, the
Yeah.
kid who could just nail
The
it.
one kid who was it was like he was playing a pan flute
Yeah.
on the side of Penn Station or
And everyone
something.
else is just spitting all over.
Yeah, the word. Yeah,
Let's talk about Trey and Charlotte.
yeah.
Loving the new dimension to Trey. Love
Yeah.
that he's in the new.
I thought he was gone, and I'm glad he's not.
I feel like I feel like they took. He's just like more of a real human, and I thought they were just going to end it with him being like the weird like. But there's like more and more to him, and I guess I don't think that they're totally going to make it as a couple.
Yeah.
But there is something that I feel like they took his character and were like, we can be done with this guy, Colin McLaughlin, and get a new person. Or if they were like, no, you know what? Like there's still more of that story to be told. And
Yeah.
I'm liking it. It's fun. I think it's kind of realistic for there just not to be like this hard cut off with their relationship.
Yeah.
And it's I feel like
We also
Charlotte's
got to
having a
see
nice time,
Charlotte
too.
pull a Alanis Morissette to Dave Coulier and go down on Trey in the theater.
Oh wow, that's true.
alrighty.
I mean, if you think about Dave Coulier, like cut it out. He's a little Treyish with the alrighty. They've got like a little kind of nerd side to both
Yeah.
of them. It
Yeah.
is a little Alanis Coulier relationship.
What would your saying be? Like if you were a 90s sitcom character, what would your trademarked saying be?
Ooh, I have mine.
What would it
Probably like as if, like something from Clueless.
Oh,
yeah.
perfect.
Clueless
yeah.
vibes for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As if.
Oh, but that's not sitcom, but we'll
I'm trying
take
to think
it.
what
I'm trying to
mine.
think of my.
I slept over. I went to a sleepover and we had full body pillows and we all like chose a girl to pretend it was and then we just humped it and mine was Alicia Silverstone.
That's not what I was
Your
asking.
90 sitcom character, your character go to is just bringing a pillow in and humping.
As if
You just someone says that character's
she said as if
catchphrase,
and it just
and then you
it
bring it.
transported me directly back and I was just like, I was like, I need to.
Wait,
get a
did you guys
full
do
body
that?
pillow.
Did you do it in front of each other? You were like,
No, it was like we each had, it was over at a friend's house and there was bunk beds. And we were like, who's your girl? And I was like, Alicia Silverstone. And his was Lacey Chabert or something, who was
I
in.
don't remember who that
Chabert.
She was in. She was in Lost in Space.
Lacey
Why
Chabert.
are you sharing? Like, that is so.
So weird.
So many interesting turns to this conversation. Thank goodness we're doing it a second time.
Exactly,
around. I mean,
yeah.
This is
we
way
did.
more
We didn't get any
interesting.
public
Total
pillow
babe.
humping the first time.
Lacey Chabert, total babe. You remember her?
Oh yes, I
No.
do. She was in sort of
Oh.
the scary.
Wait, was
fake
Lacey?
scary movies?
Yeah, but she kind of almost looks like Stacey Dash a little bit from
She was
Clueless.
in Party of Five, and she was in Mean Girls. She was one of the Mean Girls.
Oh, there we go. That's what I'm
In
thinking.
a
Okay.
world of Tiffany Amber Thiessens and Jennifer Love Hewitts, you're going to go with Lacey Chabert?
No, mine was Alicia Silverstone.
right,
and
his
my
was
other
Lacey.
one
Oh,
was
right.
Jennifer Love Hewitt.
I'm not judging you as
yeah,
hard
she's
as
not cute.
whoever pulled the Chabert card. That is a bold move.
K-Flick.
K-Flick pulled it. You know what though? I bet at the time it was like Lacey Chabert. People were like, oh yeah,
Oh yeah, it was Party of Five era.
Yeah.
she was. She was
right,
a smoke
all
show.
right.
Still is.
We still have to talk about Samantha and Maria.
oh yeah.
What are our thoughts on Samantha?
Maria, Maria, she remind me of a West Side Story. Played by Carlos and.
Ooh, that's some jazz. That's some Latina jazz.
Alrighty then.
So I think that it's not a surprise that her first real relationship, because it seems like it's going to continue,
Yeah.
is like one that it's like, ooh, not just like her and some other like dude.
This
Yeah.
is adventurous.
So do you remember much about this when you watched the series originally?
How the relationship unfolds? A little bit.
Interesting. Are we in for a roller coaster?
I don't think it's a roller coaster. No.
Okay.
If I'm remembering correctly. Yeah.
It's like It's a small world after all at
Yeah,
Disney.
I think so.
I think it's
is a
it's
ride.
refreshing to see Samantha commit to someone.
Mm-hmm.
You know, usually her stories are such one-off characters that
Has
just-
there been any commitment up in the last couple?
She had like
seasons?
the guy with the small dick, and then the
Yeah,
guy
the season
she
one.
was with him for a while. She was
Okay.
with like the angry guy for a while. But
Who's the angry guy?
wasn't there like a really angry guy that she was with for
Maybe.
a couple episodes, or maybe it was just a one-off.
Maybe.
But something that we should talk about is like how Samantha showed like true blue side when she
Oh,
when
yeah.
Carrie left the
Ooh,
table
yeah.
and she
the
turned
mama
on
bear
big,
moment.
and she was just like, "Do not mess with my Carrie."
And she almost
is-
kind of like pulled Big in, like,
Yeah.
"Are you guys together?" And then, did he say no, we're not together? And
Yeah.
then she was like, "You better be careful."
Because did you guys think that she was going to make a move on him?
Yeah.
I totally
Oh,
thought.
I didn't get that.
I
thought
thought
at
that-
all.
I thought that was
No.
I thought that was like her like putting the bait out there, and then when he took it, she was like,
Trapped.
"Listen."
Oh,
Gotcha.
I didn't pick up on that. That went right
I got
over
it
my
for
head.
1 second, but it freaked me out because I was like, well, I was like, that'd be the most fucked up move of all time.
Yeah, not
Yeah.
great.
But
Yeah.
she pulled the opposite card where she just went full on.
I mean, that's the kind of friend you want in life.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. What was Big's response? It was kind of just brushing it off, right?
Yeah, but then we see the interaction that Big and Carrie have once
Yeah.
Carrie comes out of the bathroom, and he's sort of standoffish, and I think he's kind of realized like, oh shit, I shouldn't really be messing with Carrie
Yeah.
in this way.
I think he kind of, it was like sort of brushing off, but it was like really kind of put him in his place. It was kind of like he went to go find his date and be like, "Hey, we're going to get out of here. Stop doing cocaine and let's leave."
Oh yeah,
Small
he had like the random model.
Yeah,
he just always finds these random models.
He said she was a supermodel.
Random
He just found her
supermodel.
somewhere. Yeah.
I mean, if you have,
What does he do? Does he do finance or does he do
He needs
real
a
estate?
stylist, though. I'll tell you that.
I think he owns the Men's Warehouse. I think that's what his job is.
Big and tall.
Yeah, he owns Big and Tall.
Mr.
And he,
Big and Tall.
Mr. Big and Tall. That he owns Mr. Big and Tall.
You're gonna like the way you look. Absolutely.
I feel like he's such a true to life New York character because there are people that wander around and you're like, how the fuck do you have all this money? What is your
Yeah, like
deal?
what do you do? What do you
dresses
actually
you?
do?
Yeah, because he doesn't seem to have the discipline that is and the stress level that is necessary to be an investment banker.
Right. he
No,
seems
I
pretty
think
lax.
I think the people that are really rich are just like a little bit out of touch. Like the people that are like really wealthy, like probably aren't the most stylish people because they're like,
They don't
yeah,
care.
they're like, it's a suit. And they're
Right.
like, you're like, oh, try this like crazy cocktail. And he's like, I'll just take a $45 martini.
Right.
Made by this really old guy that's worked at the steakhouse for 100 years. Like that's that level of money. So that's who Big is, I think.
Yeah. Yes.
What do you think is? Do they ever say what his job is? Let's say he's a
remember.
business. Let's say he owns a business. What is the business that he owns?
Ooh, good call. We're probably gonna get like blown up on Instagram. Like I'm sure they probably mentioned
Yeah,
what he does.
probably no.
They compare him to Donald Trump. So does that insinuate that he's like
In the
real estate?
show, they compare
They
him to
do in
Donald
the
Trump?
first episode.
the first
Positively.
episode.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
Shook.
they say he's like the next Donald Trump is what they say. So that
So maybe he's in
makes me
real
like
estate.
think he's
Mr.
a
Real
real
2020.
like
Then I
real
think
estate-
he's a professional
No, 2020.
insulter.
I think he has a show
I think
on ABC.
I think he has a show on ABC, and he just dresses people down publicly on Twitter. That's
No,
his
he
job.
hires them. You're hired.
You're hired.
Hyatt.
He owns a staffing agency. You're hired. You're hired.
Hired.
And
You're
that's true.
hired.
He's just like, he's like, you think I'm gonna work with pork pie over here? You see him? I saw him.
Get out of here. Get out of here.
You're hired.
Also, speaking of Big, when they're on the cab together, he just goes, "Cabs are bullshit."
Yeah.
Well, that is his level. That he's like,
Oh,
hey,
yeah.
I have my own fucking driver.
Yeah, exactly. He doesn't need
You're a
to take
big.
a cab.
Corey's a big cab person. I think cabs are bullshit, but Corey's
Oh,
big.
wow.
What do you
big
mean?
Yellow
Yeah,
cab
no
guy.
cabs.
Oh,
You're very
Not about that life.
yellow cab supportive.
well, yeah. Well, part of the reason I took one from your apartment last night because every time I tried to take a Juno, which I'm also very Juno supportive. Juno's great.
Juno.
What is Juno?
Juno is it's like Uber, but all the drivers have to be rated higher, and it's always cheaper. It's
Okay.
always. And
Not as of late, but
Well,
for a while it was.
it's definitely not if you use the XL one. You guys don't care about this, but the thing about it is that it's cheaper and the drivers get more.
True.
So the drivers are like rated higher and usually are happy because they're like, "Thank you for doing this.
Right.
I'm getting more money." But I get yellow cab sometimes because they don't take 2, then 5, then 7 minutes to get to you. I hate like calling a thing and then it's like, "Cool, thanks for coming from Washington Heights to pick me up in Brooklyn. I'll see you in 2 hours."
Yeah, I think cabs are bullshit. I'm with Big on this.
Why?
I have no opinion. I take the subway.
Cabs aren't bullshit. Change my mind.
If one goes by, I'll flag it. But I think essentially
You just lost your argument.
when you
just laid
if
down.
one goes by,
You lost.
But when you think about one of the biggest, most tectonic plate shifting things
Oh,
in
yeah.
New York City,
Completely.
is being able to say, "Oh, I'm in this bar. I'm going to call a car," and then you're like, "Oh, sweet, I have 6 minutes. Going to finish my beer," and then you walk out and you have a private driver take you. Like that is mind blowing. And we were here during the shift, which is kind of crazy.
Some would say it disrupted the industry.
Oh yeah,
Oh yeah, I would say it was a disruptor.
what's that?
That's like what they said. That's what they
Yeah.
said. Uber, they're like, Uber disrupted the industry.
Oh, yeah.
It's the same way like Spotify and Apple Music, it disrupted
Yeah.
the music
I mean, it's
industry.
disrupted so much that businesses are now striving to be the Uber of water delivery.
Completely.
It's like,
Yeah.
Which is like, what's the point?
Kleenex
Like,
of tissues, like
Yeah.
that, you know.
I think
Exactly.
Uber is the Uber's the
we're
Uber
the
of water
Uber
delivery.
of refrigeration.
dude, maybe that's Big. Probably started Uber. He would work at a place like Uber. And be like,
he's
and
too
he's
old
like,
for-
cab,
he's too,
he's
like,
like,
old
cabs
school
are
for
bullshit, and he's like, I'm gonna figure my way around.
I feel like Big like owns Banana Futures or something like that. Like
Yeah.
he owns like a level of industry where it's
I think
like
you're right. It's like
a level of
soybeans.
industry that you will never really understand, and it's higher volume.
I met a
or
guy.
higher dollar than anything.
I
you would
met a
ever
guy a
understand.
few months
He
ago.
like
that
buys
works in
iron ore.
beans.
Yeah.
He literally does, and he's super rich. And he's
Yeah.
like, yeah, I do beans, and I was like, I heard like tariffs are like affecting you. He's like, they've been fucking us very hard
yeah.
lately. And I was like, see, and then we were talking about comedy and stuff, and I was like, see, I need like, it's so dumb to go into the arts. You gotta get into something like beans.
Beans.
Yes.
Everyone needs beans.
Yeah.
Fun fact for
It's
you,
true.
I recently told someone my handle, because we're talking about Instagram, like, what's your handle? My
Yeah.
handle is Jara Bean. And they
Yes.
thought I said jar of beans,
Jar of beans.
which is not my handle, but kind of want to claim it.
It's my new handle.
You gotta see
taking
if
it.
Jar of Beans is out there.
I think jar of beans with like some underscores exists.
Okay.
But it's blank. But
Wait, can I
apparently
ask
there is something on Facebook that like shows all these different containers that beans are in, not just in a can, like weird things.
Okay.
So feel free to go look that up.
Yeah. Check out Jar of Beans.
Jar of
and
beans
then-
on Facebook.
Jar
It
of
might
beans.
be weird.
I have an Instagram question. Do
Sure.
you have a personal, maybe you can decline to comment, but do you have a personal Instagram that's like, because it's weird, the line between your business and whatever, is there one that's like, this is for my friends and family, it's not my
I
business?
do have a personal account. It was my original account that I had whenever I first created
Yeah.
an Instagram account for myself. I post perhaps one time a year on it.
Oh, okay.
Yes, versus my main Instagram account, I'm posting 1 to 2 times a day usually. So yeah, it doesn't really get a lot of love. The personal
Got you.
one.
Got you.
Do you map out your like Instagram? Like, are you sitting here? Like, do you have a calendar, or is it
It's-
like all come to you just as you're living your life?
What I find to be challenging is that I do want to plan because obviously that makes life easier
Yeah.
to plan and map your content out in advance. What I struggle with is that my account, even though it's my job, is so personal
Yeah.
that I find when I post in the moment, that's the most authentic, whether it's something sort of topical, like, oh, this is what I'm up to today,
Yeah.
or this is a struggle that I'm going through right now. So to plan that out in advance helps me with my time management, but I can't plan out what I'm going through in the
Yeah,
moment.
yeah.
So I
Totally.
sort of struggle. So yes and no.
Who do you think out of the 4 women would be who would be the one that would be set up to be an influencer out of the 4 if you look at all 4 of them?
Oh my God. Well, I mean,
Look at her successful.
In
Great
terms
question,
in terms
Corey.
of fashion, Carrie, definitely. I mean, she's got the closet. I don't know how she affords it.
No
but
one
she has
does.
the closet. Goodness, I feel like Samantha comes to mind just with how open she is and like talking
yeah.
about her life. So that's another thing that pops into my head. So yeah, I'd say Carrie for fashion and Sam for just talking about all the things.
Yeah.
Miranda just for following her friend's baby pictures or something like that. She
She has
barely
no
ever
post, but you
posts.
always get a like
She's
from her.
like she's like a troll, like with being judgmental of
It's
everyone
that-
all the time. No, I love Miranda. I
It's
love
that and the Miranda posting about her tough mutters that she does all the time.
CrossFit.
That's so funny. Yeah. She definitely. But I also feel like Charlotte there's like a whole. I feel like this day and age, like there's kind of a different type of influencer for almost every little thing. So I could
yeah.
see Charlotte crushing it on like the whole like Hamptonsy, like
Definitely.
dappered up J. Crew.
Yeah, I mean, they would all
Type-
have their own niche.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
I could see Stanford going next level on Instagram.
I
I see him
maybe
just
see
growing
that.
up some sick memes, like, crushing it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Oh, yeah. At Stanford, we haven't had much of him in a while.
We haven't seen him
Wait,
in
who
a
is
while.
this?
Stanford Blatch, Carrie's gay friend, bald.
Oh, of course.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Willie Garson.
Yep.
He looks like Ed Harris. All right. Did we cover everything? What else do we need to cover?
I think
I got everything on mine. I have Menage a Taxi. I
Oh,
have
that was a
Menage
great
a Taxi.
line.
Kevin, we need to talk about your handwriting. Can you understand what you wrote?
Yeah.
Really?
I said, if Gaff was on the toilet
So no, you can't.
with the mug. Yeah, I mean, no, I can't really. Listen, this is a fight I've had with my mother for a long time. And whatever. Just leave me
It's like,
alone.
whatever, man.
Well,
Let me be-
I
let me
have
be with
one
her.
question for
Yes.
you guys, and it's the last line of the show. Was an important one in terms
Yeah.
of Sex and the City and life in general. And I think the last line was something along the lines of, "What ultimately defines a relationship is another relationship."
So you're asking us?
Yeah, like how do you feel about that? Do you agree?
I think yes, I think so, because I think the answer is context. And I think it's because, and I think
No, I think it's true. I think
No.
what you're saying is true.
Yeah, it just seems like it's the first time I've ever thought of that. I feel like I say this a lot. But like, no, I think that it's like my relationship with you is very different if we meet on the subway. But then our friend Shanae. And so then it's like, oh, we have
Instant
a whole lot of shared experience.
Yeah.
So let's say I know a girl that I'm interested in, but then I don't have but I also have this other person. So it's like anything that anything that you're like, it depends on what the context of your situation
Yeah.
is.
You know what's
That's what's happening with Big and Carrie and Jazzman.
Yep.
Yeah.
I just thought of this based on what you asked, that it's kind of crazy that since life, this sounds like I'm high, I'm not, but it's like your life only happens basically beginning and end. And so it's kind of crazy that every relationship you have is the context of all the ones that came before.
Yeah.
And if those were in different orders, that could be such a game changer. Do you know what I mean? So it's always
Whoa, that is crazy.
just because yeah, and so you can't, any relationship that I ever get in from now on, even if I am completely over it, there's something having to do with the past few relationships that I have.
Yeah.
You can only
I was going to say something similar to you, that I think that your life experience is made up of a sum of all of your relationships. So I think, yes, your current relationship will always be defined by the relationships that you had past. So
there's like
I
a
do think
philosophical principle, I think you would know maybe more of this, but it's like you can only know things in relation to other things. So it's like you're talking about your relationships, like you can only understand your next relationship in the past experience that you've had with every relationship you've had.
Yeah.
So it's like if you think about a baby developing, everything is brand new to a baby.
Yeah.
And then you get older and you're like, I've seen all this before.
Got so much baggage.
Just give me television. That's all I want.
Jared, what do you think?
Yeah, I totally agree. And it feels very relevant for my life right now because I'm currently in a relationship and I was just having this conversation with someone
While you guys were farting.
while we were farting. No farting in this one. Just how much I'm so appreciative and grateful and thankful for the relationship that I'm in. Because when I compare it to past relationships, I kind of think like, whoa, Jara, how did you allow these past things to be okay? How did you allow yourself to be treated in a way that wasn't really up to a certain standard?
Yeah.
And so I do think it's not that I'm wanting to compare this relationship to other ones, but I do so in a positive light because it makes me feel so happy that I'm with who I'm with.
That's so
right now.
awesome. I think my wife and I talk frequently about just how easy our relationship is compared to relationships that we've had in the past. Like when you find your person, it's just like, this is the easiest thing that we've ever done. Like it's not hard. It's not stressful. It's not difficult. It's just easy. So that's really great.
You guys have the best marriage, John.
Oh, thanks.
You really do. It's great.
All right, let's do our Cosmo rating.
Cosmo rating.
Do you guys have yours?
Yes.
I've got mine.
I've got mine.
You have
I
yours.
have mine.
I got mine.
Let's say them
5.
all at the same time.
Okay. 5, 4, 3, 2,
4.55.
4.
Samesies.
I was
3
4.5.
I was 4.25.
I said 3.5.
Ooh.
Going low.
Wow. Come on.
I could maybe I
Kevin,
could have gone higher.
why don't you
Kevin,
start?
Okay, I would say mine was maybe on the high side. Maybe I regret that, but I'm not changing it. I will say Trey, what they're doing with Trey's character is very impressive because I really sold the show short last season of like one-dimensional, and it's really an interesting arc, especially for Charlotte, and it's taken some turns and actually making me feel for both of them more, especially seeing Charlotte get some of her hopes up.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I like that storyline. They're going a little deeper with Samantha, and then I just really appreciate the whole Jazz thing was funny, but I really appreciate how they're not above just a massive fart sound is just like in a way like that is a hard thing to pull off because it's so bass and so just like why don't we just not go whole hog on like the sound effects. So with I don't know, you had good stuff happening and then just really like low grade stuff too. So I loved it. 4.5.
I gave mine a 4.25. I really like seeing Goofy Big. I loved seeing Samantha in a relationship that's new and different. And I also loved seeing Mama Bear Samantha. I think I could watch a reality show TV show in which Samantha just confronts guys on dates when the girl's in the bathroom and screams at them. So it was a great episode. Charlotte thing was like a little bit not my favorite, but Gaffigan Miranda was great, and probably actually would have given this one a little bit higher if I would have rated it like less than 7 days ago. But 4.25, great episode.
3.5 could have maybe gone higher, but the reasons for the low points are the Tao dinner got a little boring to me, and also it made sense that it was like, hey, let's all sit at a table together, but it's like a little convenient to be like, hey, Carrie's here with the Jazz guy, they eat together. I don't know, maybe that happens in real life. I'm sure it does, but people eat together, it's what happens. but it just that last scene seemed a little long. The Trey Charlotte thing was interesting. Love seeing a decorated cab, like when they go past the Indian cab driver and then it's all crazy decorated. I feel like that happened more in the day before Ubers. That was one thing we lost with Uber. And that's why I'm pro cab. But
more candies now.
Yeah, well, that's true. And bottles of water. So many crates of water. I think I love seeing Childish Big. It was Childish Big Bino was the best. He was great. He's super funny. The pork pie jokes were great. The Miranda Gaffigan thing, Gaffigan's the best. But I guess I think that there's going to be even better episodes. This one was like very solid. So maybe I could have given it a 3.75, but it wasn't hitting it out of the park for me.
I'm going in with a 4.
Love
guys.
it. Love
Purely for the eyebrow winkety wink raise. No, I'm just kidding. That's not the reason, even though I did like that moment. I guess just on a higher level, I just appreciated the episode. It just seems like a metaphor for all of Sex and the City and our lives with what defines a relationship or what lack of boundaries or set in stone boundaries define a relationship. And I think it's this ping-ponging back and forth between definition and lack thereof that we're all dealing with in our lives, and then very much so in Sex and the City over the course of several seasons. So I think it was just this larger theme that they're constantly coming back to.
All right.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well,
This was so much
Jared,
fun.
thanks for doing
Thanks
this.
for having me, guys.
I'm
Twice.
Yeah, thanks
Should we
for-
do it again next week?
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Come on back.
Standy date on Monday.
Yeah, hell
Yeah.
yeah.
Jira.bean, JERA.BEAN on Instagram.
Not jar of beans.
Yeah, I was gonna say, can people also find you?
Are you the daughter of Mr. Bean?
Oh, no. I wish. That'd be kind of interesting.
You talk more than he does because he doesn't
Yeah,
talk
he
at
doesn't
all.
talk.
Yeah.
If you like fashion, if you like women's empowerment and humor,
Yes.
very funny.
Occasionally.
We were just talking about your humor on your Instagram.
Yeah,
You're
trying to
very funny.
show it more. Thank you.
You are very funny.
Well, thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. And guys, go, I don't know, do all the things. If you haven't rated or reviewed us, you don't fully count as a listener.
You're being such a pork pie. if you do that. So rate and review our podcast.
Get out there. If you like jazz,
Hey,
review us.
Real quick, before we end, favorite jazz album. Everyone go around. Kevin, favorite jazz album.
John Coltrane.
Which one?
The blue one. Kind of blue.
That's Miles Davis.
I got to go with Charlie Parker.
Which one?
3.
Okay, cool. Jiro, which one?
I don't have an answer.
Mine would be John Mayer, Kind of Blue. All right.
All right, guys. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Bye.
The Bradshaw Boys stars Corey Cavan, John Sieber, and Kevin James Doyle. The show is produced by Jeremy L. Balin. For more information on the guys, check out their website at bradshawboys.com, on social media at The Bradshaw Boys. And if you see them in the street, tip your glass. Thanks for listening.